Hey, what's up, my friends? Welcome to the War Plan Briefing. If you're a family that loves God, family, country, and capitalism, you're in the right spot. I promise, let's change your family tree, make you more money, and help you reframe the way you think things, because success can be elusive. If you have a small company, it's not easy to do it. Am I right? Well, here's 5 things that I learned about making money that came by being a parent. If you don't know who I am Josh. And if you don't know how many kids I have 5 kids. My wife, Ashlee, and I, we're expert kid makers. If you need tips, send me a message. No, just kidding. I won't reply to that message. But we have almost a half a dozen kids. What's funny is I actually never held a baby until we had a baby, believe it or not. I was freaked out by kids. I thought they were aliens. And then when we had our oldest son, Maverick, I held that little nugget in my arms, and I realized almost instantly, I want lots of kids. This is the coolest thing ever. I became the biggest cheeseball dad ever, rolling on the ground, playing with my kids. I remember one time wrestling with my boys. We have 3 older boys and 2 little girls. Wrestling with my guys. They're little, right? But they feel powerful, but they're tiny. And one of them just hit me square in the nuts. I mean, if you're a dad, this can happen, right? You're playing t-ball, they hits you in the nuts. There's all kinds of nut hitting possibilities when you're a parent. And what does this have to do with business? It has everything to do with business. Just hold your horses for 1 second. And he just dropped me. And 2 things happened. Number 1, I realized a very valuable principle. Number 2, my 3-foot-tall son felt very powerful. And the principle is that small things can be very powerful, right? Small things can be powerful. In your company, what happens is small business owners are always focused on the big, obvious things, right? How do I get my phone to ring? How do I make more money? How do I close more deals? And that's fair enough, but there's so much wealth and so much money in the little things, the non-obvious little things that get neglected, they get overlooked. We don't do it on purpose, but they get overlooked, right? Am I right? What little things throughout your process or your customer life cycle could be improved? Because one little improvement doesn't do a lot. But when you start stacking little nuanced improvements on top of each other, money shoots out the other side of that equation. Can I get an amen? It's like this. When someone calls you, do you answer in 1 ring or 5 rings? Or do you call them back the next day? There's a big difference between those 3 possibilities. Once you do answer, what do you sound like on the phone? Do you have really good mirroring and pacing and tonality? Do you have enthusiasm? Are you emphasizing the right parts? Do you have an actual script so you don't forget to ask important questions? Have you ever asked yourself what questions, in which order should you ask the questions? Let me rephrase that. Have you ever asked yourself what order you should be even asking the questions to give a better, more up-leveled customer experience? These are small things, or seemingly small things, that make humongous differences over the scope of a whole year when you stack them throughout your whole business. How can you exceed expectations in little ways lots of times? How can you get more referrals and more reviews and more upsells and more cross-sells? It's by doing this. It's focusing on the little tiny things. The little things are easy to overlook, but the little things move the needle in a big, big way if you pay attention to them. The second life-changing money principle I learned by being a parent is that there's life and death in the power of the tongue. Your words have the ability to create and destroy. This is absolutely true as a father, as a parent. An offhanded comment can wound and cripple a kid for decades. There's many people I know that are in their 60s or 70s and still remember that one thing that their dad said, that hateful comment or the verbal abuse that happened when they were little. Now, what does that have to do with your business? It has everything to do with your business, because life and death is in the power of the tongue. This goes from your employees, the way that you lead and engage your team, the way that you communicate and talk to your customers. It even goes to your marketing, the messaging. There's power in language. There's power in words. And how many extra minutes do you spend thinking about what the headline should be on that postcard that you mail out, or what the copy should be on the social media posts that you make? If you slow down just a little tiny bit and ask yourself, is this the best, most clean, clear, simple way to word this? Is this clever? Is this intuitive? Is this polarizing? Is it magnetic? What is it? We got to examine our words, not just as a parent, that should go without saying, but as a business owner, the way that we frame things, the way that we engage with our staff, the way that we discipline people when things are getting off track. It's not so much do you discipline or do you not discipline your staff. It's not so much do you market or do you not market to get new customers. You're probably doing a version of both of those. The real question is this: how do you discipline your staff? And how do you do your marketing? The power is in the how. It's in the nuance. It's in the little things. And your words are money-making machines. They're also potential destruction for you. The words you say creates beliefs in your heart. The beliefs in your heart become actions in your hand. It's a mental war to run a small company. It's not easy to get up every day with enthusiasm when things seem like they're falling apart or things seem like they're not moving fast enough or progressing quick enough. I totally get it. But the words you say to yourself, the words you say to your team, the words you say to your family, and the words you use in your marketing will unlock new levels of opportunity for you if you just pay attention. You don't have to be a wordsmith. You don't have to be a Harvard MBA. Okay, I went to community college for like 3 seconds. I stopped by, but I'm not successful because of some standard education. I'm successful mainly because of getting a bachelor's degree in pain, a master's degree in suffering, and not giving up for almost 20 years, iterating and learning these ideas. The third principle I learned from my 5 kids about business and making money is that they model, they don't listen. Kids, they technically listen, but their behavior is not based on what I say. Their behavior is based on what I do. I remember growing up, my dad would say, "Josh, don't smoke," and he'd be like smoking a cigarette. Now, to my dad's credit, he totally quit smoking for me as a kid, and it was legendary. But the principle's true. And there's been so many times I've told my kids, "Don't do that. Well, you should eat healthy while I'm eating like a ho-ho or something." I don't even like ho-hos. Don't know why I use that as an example. Don't judge me, okay? But the point is that people do what you do. They don't do what you say. And in your business, the same thing is true. We can talk a big game. We can look like we're really cool on social media. We can pretend like we're successful, but maybe we're not. Maybe everything's falling apart. Did you know that the SBA says out of 32 million small business owners in the United States, that 26 million of them are 2 weeks away from overdrafting their checking account? Did you know that? Did you know that? Look, it's the reality. This is not an easy game to play. And your staff and your customers, they do pay attention to what you say, but the real power is in watching you do what you do. Are you a man or woman of integrity? Do you follow through? And here's a little truth bomb about employees. Every employee that you hire is going to do exactly what you do, but a little bit less. Every person that you hire and bring into your team, you onboard and train and mentor them. If you have a small company, you got a couple people, they're going to do exactly what you do, but a little bit less. This is why companies get stuck, because if you get 2, 3, 4 layers deep in your org chart and you were not setting the bar high to begin with, just because you talked a big game, but you weren't living a big game, what happens is the quality is so bad by the time you're 2 or 3 or 4 layers deep that you can't compete anymore, that your quality goes down. Your referrals and your reviews go down. The amount of money you make goes down. Word gets out. People aren't stupid, right? And this is one of the unfortunate truths of having a small company is you need to set the bar so high, not with your words, but with your actions, so that when you're 4 layers deep in the org chart, you're still better than the owner-operator that you're competing with. That's how high the bar has to be set. The fourth thing I learned by being a parent that applies to business and money is that I am a walking radio transmitter. I heard Alex Hormozi say one time that sales is a transference of enthusiasm. I always call it an enthusiasm transplant. Same thing, but you got to understand that human beings are receivers and transmitters of vibes, okay? I'm not talking about occult, weird, new age, hippie stuff. I'm just saying we have vibes, there's feelings, there's nonverbal signals being broadcast out of us. When it comes to parenting, I could be having a horrible day, and I think I'm keeping it from my kids. But the minute I walk through the door, they know exactly what's going on in my head. They can see by my body language, the look on my face, the vibe that I'm putting off, and it resets the tone in the room. I could have one little thing, or the tone of my voice is different. You got to understand that the way you show up in team meetings, when you're recruiting, when you're selling, makes a gigantic difference. That's why a good sales tip is to sell like you have $1 million in the bank. Have you ever noticed that it's easier to sell stuff when you don't need to sell stuff? Have you ever noticed it's easier to close the deal when it doesn't really matter if you do or if you don't? That's because your radio transmitter is putting out a different signal when you feel like that. So the game is not to sell more stuff, it's to feel a certain way so that your transmitter is broadcasting the right signals. Are you picking up what I'm throwing down? This is true at home. It's true in leadership. It's true in sales. It's true with everything, even to yourself. Managing the way you feel is the game. It's not about being successful. It's about feeling like doing the things that automatically yield success to you. And last but not least, the last money principle I learned from my kids is that my job is not to be a good dad. My job is to become an effective father. And hey, I don't want to have a whole sidebar on this, but the world needs more effective fathers. We don't just need a dad that's funny or a dad that's nice or a dad that pays the electric bill. That should go without saying. That's baseline obligation. If you have recreated a human being in this world, your goal isn't to be a good dad. It's to be an effective father, because the job of parenting is to raise effective producer kids that are a net positive and a net benefit to the world and their community, right? Well, with your business, what happens is we think that the purpose of our business is one thing, but it's really a different thing. I ask people, why are you in business? What's the purpose of your business? And they tell me the wrong answer. They do it on accident. They don't mean anything by it. They just haven't thought of it like this before. They say things like, well, the purpose of my business, Josh, is to be the best pressure cleaning company in Southeast Arkansas. And I go, wrong. That's not the purpose of your business. The purpose of every business is to make a profit. That's its function. That's the fiduciary responsibility of the leader of the business. If Tim Cook, who is the CEO of Apple, if he spends all day Tuesday scrubbing toilets and cleaning bathrooms, maybe that's a cool publicity stunt. And he's certainly not above cleaning a toilet and cleaning a bathroom. But you got to understand, if he really did that, he's breaking fiduciary with the shareholders of Apple. His job is to be making deals. This guy won't even drive himself places because he can make $37 million on 5 more minutes of phone calls, making deals and doing things. And life's not all about money, but the purpose of a company is to make a profit. Now, for all the people, I already know what you're thinking, that hate this, here's the reality. One of the ways you can make a profit is by being the best pressure cleaner in Southeast Arkansas. Basically, having great quality is a good way to make a profit. Or you say, no, Josh, the purpose of my business is to support all of my employees. Okay, fair enough, but no, it's not. If it is, then I want you to close down your LLC and go open a 501c3 and make it a nonprofit. That's fair enough. I honor you for that, but you're not going to do that, are you? Because the purpose of your business is to make a profit. Having good employee culture, taking really good care of your employees, being an amazing person to work for is an incredibly effective way to make a profit. But let's not get it twisted. The purpose is to make a profit. And when you don't look at it like that, you get the wires all tangled. You're not making any money. You feel like, is this a charity? Am I just trying to be a nice person, or am I trying to build a company? Am I actually getting out of debt? Does my business even make profit? I don't know, because I'm focused on all the wrong things. And so listen, hopefully some of these principles resonated with you. I hope they did. If you're getting value out of this video, share it. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share it with someone who's discouraged, who's having a hard time. Maybe it'll flip a switch in their head and get them back into momentum. I appreciate you being here. I value your time tremendously. And leave me a comment. I would love for this to be a dialogue, not just a monologue. Let me know where you're from, what you're doing, what you're up to. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you watched, click the video on the left to watch the previous upload. And if you want one of my personal favorites, click the video on the right. And of course, don't forget to hit the middle to subscribe so you never miss an upload. Thank you again for being on this journey with me.